love seeing the brawls on Himmelsdorf, and you know, straight away we see the tank destroyers coming out from both teams, and 4005, the FV, you know, I saw Diodor play it really well on one of Himmelsdorf. I think
that was our first game.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see whether that comes into play or not.
Yeah, absolutely. What happened was, and then watch him on the hill, he was aiming down, he got to around E9 in that massive tank, and aimed down to H2. It's basically cutting across the entire map, and he landed a shot onto a 113 turret doing like 700 damage, killing the commander. It was ridiculous, so watch out for that. Yeah, let's have a look at this formation. Yeah.
We have a push coming up the 8 line straight away from Wombats. Looks like they're not messing around whatsoever. They have the hill support, and you can see here that, you know, NSS are pretty much in the typical defensive structure. They go down the 1-2 line with the TD guarding with the E3 in this case. As per usual, the IS-3 is going over here. This is a common strategy here. A6. He can both defeat. He can side scrape and defeat the B. I think B7 corner where the light tanks can hide just behind the building, and he can poke out and shoot at A7 as well.
And so any proxy. So if anything gets within a few meters of him, he will spot them regardless of line of sight, and it's very, very good for that corner. Although the MX-1390 is going for the B7 corner, which is the first time we've seen it in this tournament. Normally they go down the A line.
Yeah, I think A7 perhaps is a little bit more common, but in this case, of course, the IS-3's job here is to reverse angle and try and hit this 1390. Perhaps with HE sometimes, if he gets a lucky poke, maybe he can hit him. Kuritz isn't probably going to give him that opportunity, so Nuki has to play it really well, and if he angles incorrectly, he's going to get penned by these IS-4s and the FE215B here with Breakneck.
We have Kusok and Breakneck here gunning their, well, seeing, hey, Nuki, come here. Come here, Nuki.
Yeah.
Nuki, come here. Come here, come on. He's not doing it. He's not taking the bait.
He's not going to take the bait, no. And you can see here, what I find really interesting is actually the FE's position on the hill, whether he's going to come back down, because I was kind of hoping he would stay up there. And you can see where the waffle is at D4, I believe, or D3. The FE215B for Wombats on tanks would be able to light that, and you could see that he could just fire down that big Hess shell and perhaps one-shot it.
Perhaps, but oh, look at these shots coming out. Nuki does bounce him exactly as you said. Look at this reverse side scraping. If you want to know how to reverse side scrape, this is exactly it, guys. Look at the way the turret is facing backwards, and he's angling it very slightly. Very slight angling. He's trying to bait the shots, but he didn't expect that from the left.
No,
he got hit from the wrong direction. That's not reverse side scraping. That's just getting hit in the side.
Well, he's reverse side scraping perfectly, but his side is exposed every time he comes too far into A line here. And the reason you're doing this with an IS-3 is because it's got a front-mounted turret, plus it's got piked armor nose, so it's a different armor layout to most tanks. And so in order to use it effectively, you reverse side scrape. Rear-mounted tanks are pretty good at it usually. So here's Coca-Cola again. He's back in position, and the waffle is all the way there, and I'm waiting for it.
Two things. One, Nuki is trying to use high explosives to shoot the ground near the AMX to get the reset. He gets it! Oh my god, I was about to say, if he doesn't get this, he's going to die, and he would have lost the cap. That was actually really dangerous to lose the game there, but NSS are in a lot of trouble. They did lose the IS-3 and almost lost the cap. Here comes the actual fight though, but Povel gets wrecked and goes right from max HP all the way down to 147. That Waffentrager is not healthy right now. We have a big fight going on with Kusok and Breakneck, push it down against the 113 and AMX-50B.
Yeah, Evil Granny's going to have to hold this off. He's got a 50B, but the 50B will run out of a clip soon, and they perhaps will decide to push him. But Evil Granny should be able to do quite well. The 113's got pretty suitable armor for this, but between the Kusok and Breakneck here, it's going to be difficult for him to stay alive. But you can see how basically Wombats have given up on the attempt to cap, and they were actually quite high up on hit points, and NSS have brought it back.
Yeah, there was some massive damage against Povel that just came out of nowhere, and that's where the HP got returned. But nice bounce from Bishop, having a nice firefight here with Exodus, both in FV215s. However, Shotnik is coming around the back trying to do something, but the FV4005 is coming behind the AMX-50B. Can he land a good shot on him? He's uneyed so far. It's going to be a surprise. He's going to turn up. Coca-Cola is well, able to kill anything at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Click.
For us as the viewer, it's almost disappointing that the 50B didn't have more hit points in that case, but of course he just wants to kill regardless of how much damage he does.
The HP is still similar though in the team. There are 6 guys left on Wombats and tanks, so this is really important. Even if the HP is similar, they got way more guns. Just Cause going against Beowulf, double tracking, really nicely done to keep him alive, and that is important because he has no turrets on that tank, or at least no easy way to shoot down. Yeah, E3, he's got no turrets on that tank, so yeah, there's no way Beowulf can actually hurt Just Cause. What a play from Just Cause.
Yeah, Just Cause going around there, making sure he tracked him so he could flank him correctly. I was actually a bit worried for him, but until the 1390 came, you can see the 1390 going for the track shots. He's not going to move, he's going to die. And
that's why you want a turret,
really bad
folks.
for NSS at this point, 4,000 to 1,300.
Absolutely, that's why you want a turret, right? That's the weakness of not having a turret, should I say. But what a play by Just Cause. He knew what to do, he got the double track, and then his teammate turned up and he continued the tracking. So that was a really nice play there.
Yeah, the E3 is really great to hold the A4 position when it's just got to look at one lane, but the second it starts to have to push, the lack of a turret really does hurt it.
Well, NSS lose the first game, and they were defending on Himmelsdorf, which is not so good for them. But they get a chance to attack back on against the Wombats any second now. So there goes the explosion. NSS go down, and it's Wombats attack 1 and NSS 0. But they get a chance of revenge. It's going to be opposites very soon.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I kind of liked what NSS were doing at the start there, but it's a typical defense, but you have to give it to Wombats. I mean, they just knew exactly what to do.
Adjusting my tie, I realized it was so slack after relaxing for so long. It's kind of like slipped down.
Just going back into
I was watching the crowd. I was in the crowd, and I was just like, you know, taking some pictures and stuff like everyone else, and I didn't realize that I'm looking a bit messy now. Actually, I'm a bit more ragtag than usual. Sorry, you were going ahead about the battle.
I'm more focused on your tie now. Yeah, I mean, NSS had a typical defense strategy, and it looked like it was going to work out. The problem is that Armageddon, or was it Armageddon? I can't remember, but the IS-3 was trying to side scrape, and he was doing it quite well. The issue became when he came too far out in the A-line and he was being defeated in that position.
That's right.
And he did, at least before he went down, he got the HE shot on the 1390 to get the reset.
Wasn't enough, but it was enough to at least save them from the cap, because they would have succeeded in the cap
he doesn't have to do any damage, he just has to hit the HE shot near enough that it resets by damaging the tracks, even if it does no actual damage to the tank. So, you know, he did his job, but of course it made it quite difficult after he went down because they no longer had that guaranteed cap reset. Although Wombats did move out anyway, they decided to fight, and unfortunately we didn't get our FV shot.
I know, it was so close. He was coming, he was like, and then they actually kill him almost, and I was like, well, he still gets the kill, but it wasn't boom, it was more like boom. Let's have a look at those stats and see exactly what happened, but... Oh, the FV did get 2 hits in. No, that was 1 hit. That was 1 hit, the 2000, right? No, it's of course more than 1. It was, yeah, it must be at least 2. I didn't see his other hit.
Well, obviously he's fired 4 times, so we can't see what connected and what didn't connect. However,
I think he hit a waffle trigger.
He must have hit something. Yeah, we didn't catch it at the time. But Wombats the top 4 damage slots, so it's you know.
Yeah, I mean, Nuki actually did 409 damage, which is the splash damage plus a hit, so he didn't do utterly nothing. Karitz, though, was really important later on as he did the continuous tracking, which made the E3 way less effective. He was at max HP and did nothing. He got 1 shot off earlier on, and once he got surrounded, well, that's what you happen with the tank destroyer, right? It's all about the forward facing.
Yeah, the issue is obviously when a tank destroyer has to deal with multiple flanks, it's just not good enough to deal with it. And of course, they know this, and they're going to track him every time in the front row wheel.
If you can aim that well, it's pretty hard to use those
with a
tank
TVP,
destroyers.
that's 1.5 seconds every
ridiculous.
shot.
Ridiculous.
So, easy tracks. He repairs it instantly. Second later, that's it.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to be as effective as probably he would have liked to have been.
Yeah, well, it's always, as you said, the danger of when you have to move into combat. As soon as you give up your dug-in position, or you don't have support from teammates, you can, well, as we saw with Nuki, as he reversed out, he had a shot against his left, and that was enough for him to take a lot of damage and almost die for it.
Yeah, poor Nuki.
Well, we are into battle number 2, which is the second fight on Himmelsdorf, and this time NSS are on the attack in the blue, where Wombats are defending in the red.
Yeah, it's a similar sort of setup, in fact, for NSS, except they're on attack. So it's quite interesting they brought kind of a similar-ish lineup. And by that I mean that they brought an E3. You don't commonly see an E3. Now, Karitz here is very important. He has to spot this cross on the K-line. And I don't think he spotted the initial push, but he should spot the others. But Just
Shadow.
Cause, he does have support here, so he should be fine. You'd expect Nookie will go down there.
Bishops annihilates him, removes him from the map, wipes him from the face of the earth. But it was not all over for NSS. They did lose their scout. However, Kusok took quite a bit of damage here from Shadow and Shotnik.
Yeah, it's a very difficult position here, and honestly, it's going to be a brawl down in the middle. Obviously, NSS have invested so heavily into this. Unless they decide to retreat, it's going to be quite difficult.
Shadows is actually really badly in trouble here as he takes a lot of damage. This looks like NSS has been backed into a corner already, although the driver of Bishop has been wounded, and so is the autoloader of Kusok. So things aren't as peachy as they may look at first glance for Wombats.
Yeah, it's perhaps a situation where you look at Wombats and you think, well, they do have the superior positioning here to defend this one cap, and Just Cause there with a brilliant shot on Shotnik, and he's going to reload now, but he's going to cover, so he's fine. Kusok, however, does perhaps need to go back to side scraping just to make sure that there's an issue there, but obviously Beowulf's waiting exactly for that.
Exactly. I mean, look at it. It's just they're playing so well here on the left. Like, normally when you have this open fight in first, second, third column, it's not this clear-sighted, but maybe the Waffen Tracker, he misses opening shot against Karitz.
He should be fine.
And he might actually get out now.
Yeah.
Oh no,
yeah,
Levente gets
far
him.
too quickly on the reload there. And unfortunately for Karitz, that just did not end very well whatsoever. And, you know, hopefully Just Cause here will be able to survive because he's come quite aggressive there. And I'm kind of worried for him, but I suppose at the end of the day, the building may protect him, but they can shoot through it. Oh, he's on a slaughter of hit points here, 188 hit points, and he's got quite a lot of damage, but it doesn't look like anything important, so he should be okay. He does have a full clip, but he'll want to use that. And Shadow's the exact same position.
And Shadow can see exactly where Just Cause is looking. If they're in yellow, guys, that means they're spotted. So Just Cause, every second, everything he does, every millimeter he moves the star is visible, and they will not hesitate to pop out and take him out. But Kusok should not have done that, because now he's got Amarak damage, and, well, you see how slow that reload is, and he's one shot now, which means they could probably just go around and kill Just Cause now. Oh, look at that crossfire from Breakneck, Coca-Cola, and Povel, who punished Beowulf, who was going to go around the corner and take out Just Cause. I think that's a bit of bait, isn't it? It's like, hey, I'm a bit of cheese, come get me, but nope, he's actually way more protected than they thought he was.
Yeah, both these teams are just trading fire consistently, and I think both teams think, okay, I can poke here, and then all of a sudden they get hit by something else they didn't know was there. Evil Granny's being an absolute beast, sniping straight through those train tracks and has done so much damage. They have to give full credit. It's not an easy thing to do that.
Well, they've been a bit behind. NSS has actually been behind this entire game so far, and they're crawling it back ever so slightly. And it's all about Levente. If he can get around the back and actually get a full clip off into the FV or the Waffenträger at the back, because the Waffenträger is at full HP, and the FV, which is Breakneck, is also at full HP, but there goes Beowulf. That's probably not the best thing to happen to NSS this day.
Yeah, Coca-Cola's position is very important here. Typically you would send in the old format IS-3s, but now sometimes you'll see IS-7s go to that G3 area there. And basically all he's doing, he's completely, you can't see his lower plate, and he's completely protected. He doesn't really need to worry about flanks, and he fires exactly down that D-line. It's very, very difficult.
But he's been spotted.
NSS, well, he's fine. I mean, it's very difficult for NSS to get out of there. However, he's decided to move up, so I guess the call is here that we need to catch them and try and do some damage, but he has to be so careful because he's going to have two 215Bs to deal with, and if he's not looking the right way, these are accurate guns and they will track him.
Yeah, it looks like right now that the only way NSS can get out of this is if they group up their 3 tanks in the south and somehow have a decisive victory, because their Waffenträger's about to get necked. I don't know why necked is a word. He just got destroyed.
New meme, boys.
There was
Get necked.
There was a word there somewhere, but it disappeared as I said it. It's been a long weekend.
It became a new thing.
It's been a long weekend. Right, we have the Waffenträger that come around the side, and I don't think there's anything NSS can do. There's no fallback position. It's all or nothing for them right now. They know the Waffenträger is coming, though, so maybe it would have been smart to engage the Waffenträger and try and take it out on its own, rather than do what is happening, because the Waffenträger is aiming at the rear of the FV, and he's going to take a lot of damage very quickly, and Evil Granny will probably not survive this. There he goes. What some shooting there from Povel.
Yeah, there's
3
no way
shells
back here for
dead.
NSS. No way back, and it's They have 3 times the hit points and more on Wombats, so it would take some sort of small miracle in order for them to come back from this. Coca-Cola's going to take a big hit against Des here. There we go. And Breakneck again. The DPM's there.
Oh,
and
he doesn't penetrate.
Well, he tries to get the viewport, but I'm not sure you can still pen that. I can't remember. It used to be a weak point, but perhaps
you never
not
know.
anymore.
Well, there you go. I want to see if you're right about the guy who's doing a lot of damage, the FV you're talking about.
Well, Evil Granny.
Evil Granny,
I'm not sure he was doing a lot of damage, but he was in a position to do a lot of pesky damage. And what he is there, he's defeating positions that Wombats want to use as a safe position, and he's forcing them to move out of there because they're taking damage, and then they force into positions that are even worse. So he was doing really well, and those train shots are not easy things to do. The FE is a good gun, but it's not easy to make those shots.
No, and he managed to make at least 2 of them. We saw at least 2 of them connect, quite important ones. It wasn't important enough, they didn't win, but it made a difference. A lot of points during that, it looked like it was completely against NSS. They brought it back for a while, and then it just died. It just fell off. They drove off a cliff, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. NSS, I think they had the right idea. Usually you don't see even the E3, but Wombat had the E3 on the 1-2 line area instead of by the cap, which is quite usually common. So it was a very weird defense, almost as if they knew NSS was coming that way. Maybe it was a gamble. I think NSS perhaps, thought, okay, we've tried the hill before recently, and perhaps Wombats might expect it. Let's go the other way. So let's take a look at the stats anyway.
Are you right? Breakneck's there, Kusuk's there, Just Cause is there, Desnius is there. No.
Yeah, it's all Wombats, and you can see just how good the FE can be. Oftentimes we see Himmelsdorf, and obviously we get to see the big hits from the FEs or the TDs, but it's always those FE 215Bs that we see up at the top there.
900 damage, 9 shots, 1 kill. It was pesky damage. It wasn't enough to make
it was almost similar to how we see light tanks play, where the RU sometimes will pest the tanks because they have to commit for it.
Yeah, I just read the chat, and the Golden Warlock is right. What sounds like necked? Think of a word.
Well, I can think of a rude slang word.
No, it's not rude.
Oh.
It's really simple. We use it all the time, and it just I lost it from my brain.
I have no idea.
Wrecked.
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 We were trying to say wrecked.
Oh,
well,
apparently
it's slang.
it's
okay.
Yeah, but it's not rude slang.
No, but it is slang.
Okay. You said rude slang.
Okay, but...
I said it's not rude. That's what I said. I didn't say it's not slang. I said
I'm
it's
not appreciating
rude.
this bully right now. I'm feeling really uncomfortable about this. So, can we... I don't think I've used wrecked all tournament. I love saying wrecked.
We should start saying wrecked. Next time everyone dies, he got wrecked.
Rip. Oh, the memes. We just have not tapped into the memes.
We got to do it. Next battle is everyone's getting wrecked, because I lost that opportunity. I was like, he is necked? Where did that word come from? Apparently I'm losing to English.
Breakneck was combined with wrecked, and it became an entirely new concept. And in fact, this should be a thing. Hashtag necked.
No. Tanks got necked.
I don't know. No one will get it, but,
maybe not.
Anyway, we'll always have that.
Moving on. Next map will be a challenge for NSS, because they're down by 2, and they've got to get back into this. And it's always hard to come back from such a position when you lose a map. I always try to equate this to tennis. If you know tennis, you serve, they serve. You serve, they serve. And it's only a big deal if you lose your serving game. That's the whole point. Losing a whole map is like losing your service game, where you've meant to, like, let's say no matter what the game is, let's say 90% of the time the attacker wins, right? It's not like that on any of the maps, but let's say it is. If you lose your attack, you lose your serve. So if you lose both the attack and the defense on one map, you've lost your serve. So you're at a disadvantage. So now NSS have lost their serve, they're at a disadvantage, and now they have to get it back, which is always twice as hard if you're behind.
Yeah, I'm just amazed anyone actually watches tennis, to be honest with you.
You're meant to be British, right? You're meant to be British.
Tennis, please. Please.
Do you not watch Wimbledon?
Well, I don't own a yacht, so no, I don't I don't watch Wimbledon.
You don't own a yacht. Hashtag I don't own a yacht. Why would you watch Wimbledon if you don't own a yacht? Shame on you. No wonder you represent the North American scene. Ha! Ha, I say.
America.
Ha. Anyway, the next game will be starting within 30 seconds, guys, so we'll be having a look at the map and finding out what it is. Actually, I don't know what the map is.
Steps.
Is it steps?
I believe it's steps.
You've got a feeling it's steps. You feel the force.
The voices in my head tell me that it's steps.
Steps! Nice! Okay, let's see. How is it going to go down on steps, my friend?
Well, it'd be interesting here to see both teams have actually brought artillery. Obviously, Kusok is a very, very talented artillery player, and there you go, right away, Lorraine. So now, the most important thing you'll see here is whether NSS, who are on the attack, decide to be aggressive. They say, we cannot let Kusok get into this game with his artillery. We cannot allow a slow play. And, you know, well, I love these positions, so this is so great. It's like Lion King over here. They're ready for their shots, and, yeah.
Time to get wrecked.
I think, well, Breakneck is ready to neck them, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he does. Obviously, the last thing you want as a Batchat is to get caught out doing that spotting run, but he should be fine.
Yeah, he should be fine indeed. You really have to look out for Kusok. If you want to be a better RT player, and I don't know why I'm trying to encourage that behavior, but if you want to be a better RT player, Kusok's positioning is what you need to look at. He really uses these RTs on these battlefields really well. So just watch him and his movements, and remember, you fire and move, fire and move. If your enemy knows where you're firing from, not only do they know your rough location, but they know which rocks to hide behind to prevent you from hitting. So if you use something like a Lorraine, which is really fast at moving, you fire, make them duck behind the cover, and then go to somewhere where you can actually hit that place, and they won't be expecting it. That's a good way to play artillery.
I just love that. I don't want to encourage that kind of thing. But Kusok is one of those guys that is really good at it. He knows exactly how to lead those shots and where exactly he needs to aim to make the arc work for him. Of course, we did see him against Simp, and that was an M4043, so I haven't quite seen him do it in the Lorraine yet, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can catch something.
I'm looking at this Bruiser pack here in A5. You've got SCBs, 3 SCBs hanging out together with a, is it 113? No, the 113 is there. Which is the other tank there? Batchats. With the Batchats, all there at a tight formation around A5. What is that plan? I mean, they're on the defensive in the red, the Wombats. So what is their plan?
One or two things. You can either abandon the 2-cap when you have one or two situations, and that's when you have a boost up at A9. You can abandon the 2-cap. You don't have to worry about it because the boost worries about it.
Yeah.
The other situation is if you have an artillery. So they're more worried about the 1-cap. They're going to use the Lorraine artillery while they have Breakneck to spot them. Of course, NSS have gone for a really heavy lineup here, and I think we saw this previously in one of the matches.
I expect an artillery shell to go in now. Oh, so close. Good prediction there by Kusok. Not quite enough. But it is 3 in the cap, which is dangerous. So this is reaction force. How would you, if you had all this knowledge, how would you decap this?
Well, they have an artillery police, so it's all about spotting that. Lorraine has such a quick reload. The last thing that they want to do, Wombats, is to actually send a tank in to do it themselves. So the artillery is here to do that, although they did get a nice shot from the SCB-1. That's what it's there for, to use that depression and get a shot. Nuki here is just going to get kind of obliterated by Just Cause here, assuming he doesn't miss.
Wrecked!
Yes.
Nuki got wrecked.
Absolutely wrecked, ripped, and press F to pay respects to Nuki. It's I can't say that it's going poorly for NSS at this point.
Why did they just leave the...
Yeah, he drove off the cap. I think that was a bit of a confusion in the calling whether to go up or not.
Well, they were 11 seconds away. I mean, I guess they realized that 11 seconds is a long time. They're not going to get it, so they decided to leave it. But Carice goes down. It now is Shotnik, Beowulf, and Desnix against Povil and Bishop. And, of course, don't forget about Kusok in the artillery. But he gets... Oh, no, that was Breakneck getting whacked pretty hard as a big hit goes in. However, NSS is holding really well.
Yeah, they're not doing too poorly, and you can see in the hit point advantage here, NSS have traded far better. And this is what happens when you don't have an artillery that's doing enough. Although Just Cause does take him down, that'll give them a little bit of advantage, but whether it'll be enough, it's really difficult to see because NSS have so much hit points here.
They do, and in fact, unless Kusok knocks a tank out of the park, there you go, a North American reference, you get no way to come back at this. The HP difference is just far too great. So unless Breakneck and Just Cause can assassinate somebody and get out without dying. Whoa! How did that happen? 2 shots, 3 shots. Granny does get 3 into Just Cause,
yeah, he should be dead.
Killing him. That was close. But look at the HP difference here. It's literally 4 times on the NSS's side.
You just have to believe, is I guess, I don't know. You have to look at these tanks and think they all have 300 hit points.
Wait a minute! Breakneck might be able to pull this off. Yes, he can.
Evil Granny, way too overambitious. I don't think it will matter in the grand scheme of things.
Don't you? Because I think that's pretty important right now because there's 2 Batchats. They may be on 1 shot, but the IS-7 could get hit at any point by the Lorraine and lose half its hit points.
If Shadow wasn't still alive, I'd probably agree with you, but I think with Shadow still alive, unless Shadow doesn't play very well, they should still be fine. But this is, let's be honest, this is far closer than it should have been at some point. Though.
Absolutely agree with you there. However, that was a near 500 damage hit from the artillery against Beowulf. And remember, as you said, the Lorraine reloads really fast. Just Cause is being forced into this play. They know he's coming. Shotnik's is looking the right direction, and it looks like he's gonna go for the proxy. Will he get caught out? The artillery needs to hit this.
Oh, Shotnik nearly needed to hit that shot.
Where's the artillery shot? Is he not reloaded yet? Just Cause is going in, he's got a suicide, he gets the reload, they missed both the shots! Oh my god, Just Cause was the luckiest man in the world, but it wasn't enough. Breakneck tried to get assassin shots, but the Lorraine finishes off Shadow. That is really important. Wombats aren't out of this. NSS have a commanding lead, but it's two heavies versus a skirmisher and an artillery. Now, Breakneck is able to do proxies and come from random directions, and 60 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, the Batshot's a great fighting tank, and it can also spot really effectively. It's so quick, and its camo value is really good. Of course, that won't come into play that much probably because, you know, it'll just do active spotting. But Kusok has to come up with some amazing plays here. He's the key here. I mean, obviously Breakneck does the spotting, but he's one hit away. He cannot spot incorrectly. And, oh, Beowulf. There it is.
Oh, good play by Beowulf, misplay there by Breakneck, and Kusok knows it's over, so he's going to go for a shotgun, and that's all she wrote. Well, that's a good play by Wombats. They were down so much, and it came to a reasonably comebacky situation.
Yeah, you have to say that NSS were almost 3,000 hit points or something like that in the lead there, and at the end, it just is. They took it so close, Wombats, and.
It was close. I mean, NSS deserved to win that. They played it better.
Yeah.
But at the end there, it was almost like, you know, there was a joke from Arklet back in Season 1 of the Grand Finals, the very first Grand Finals. And he said that he died almost immediately on Insk. He went down to like 100 HP. But then he went and carried the game. And they said to him, like, why did you go ahead and do that silly thing at the start where you lost most of your HP? And he goes, well, you know when you're playing randoms? And he was like, yeah. Well, you don't play seriously until you lose most of your HP. And when you get to the last shot, you sit up and you play your best.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened to
Well,
Wombats.
it's the importance of keeping your guns in the game. That's what they did. They had the Batshot stay alive. The TVP came out far too early. He wasn't loaded or ready for it. And that was it. He got out and he didn't do any damage. And that was key there.
It was close, wasn't it?
That pickup was so key. And at the end of the day, you have to say that until you've won, no team deserves to win any match. You have to secure that win, and you can't get, you know, lax or lazy about it. So
that's very true.
You have to give credit there to Wombats for bringing that so far back, but obviously NSS did secure it in the end, but they made it a lot closer than it should have been.
It really was. I guess this is what happens when you try and take that cap. Like, at some point, the cap circle is too vulnerable, right? You're stuck in one area, and that's what seemed to happen. They got dug in there with their heavy tanks, and that made them a target. And when their medium tanks, their skirmishers broke out, chased them down, they got picked off because of the two Batshats playing really well.
I mean, I'd love to see just how much damage the Batshats did do for Wombats here. So Just Cause, there it is, 3,200. Coca-Cola right behind him in the STB1 with 3,000. That's very impressive as well. So, and you can see Kusok, 2,451. Obviously, it was a very long battle, so he was able to do quite a lot of splash damage. There was no big direct hit, no Hollywood hit.
No, there's no Hollywood hit. There was some 400 hits, there was some 300 hits, I think, but it was generally just general damage, small bits here and there. Quite a big play from everybody, really. There was no one who really messed up. I mean, you could argue Bishop in the STB got caught out, and that's the only guy who kind of let the team down. If you want to put blame on somebody, but I feel that it was just the maneuver. The 3 in the cap is unexpected. It's very rare to get 3 in the cap, right? Normally they put 1 in, wait for a while, then put maybe 2 in to surprise them, but rare to go 3 in immediately. And put a lot of pressure on them. They seem to react too sharp. Like Wombats, they rushed in there to like decap a bit too quickly.
Yeah, I think they needed their artillery to pick up more resets so they didn't have to risk so much. The STB1 got a really critical reset at one point.
And then died for it.
And he took a lot of damage. So it'll be interesting here to see whether or not NSS on the reverse bring artillery like Wombats did. So I don't know. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but you know, and then Nuki has brought a Lorraine, so we'll have to see how good he is at pressing that left mouse button against Wombats here, and you know, hopefully for them it goes much better. But this looks like a disconnect.
Oh, it's the first time we've had a technical problem. Absolutely looks like a disconnect. It's the very first time we've actually seen such a thing here on the grand finals. But Shadows is moving on the battlefield, so I don't know what's going on here. We'll get an update soon, maybe. But it looks like that we've actually got a problem. I'm hoping you guys can still hear us, actually, because we've got a frozen screen on this side. So we can apologize for any technical problems.
Well, no, it's still working. The countdown's going down.
So yeah, let's come back to us and we can get that reset, because it looks like one of the players' keyboard decided to destroy itself.
Got to get them peripherals right.
Yeah, right. Have you ever had that though? Your thing, peripherals? Peripherals. Thank you. Peripherals break. They rebel against you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm playing and I swear, and I'm not joking, like my keyboard stops responding just for half a second or so, and I'm pressing a button, nothing's happening, and I don't know if it's lag on my keyboard. It seems to be happening only on one key, like my Q.
Yeah,
like, what the hell?
I had some recent issues that were recently solved. The mouse would stop tracking, and obviously in a game like World of Tanks or any game, you don't want your mouse to stop. You can't aim, you can't move, anything can't
Well,
move
just
the camera.
randomly for a few seconds.
Yeah, just for a few seconds, just stop tracking. It's all sorted now. But obviously, whenever it happens, you know, so what probably happened, the keyboard wasn't working, they called disconnect or something like that.
Because you have to do it immediately. What happens in the rules, just so you guys know like how this thing happens, it's the first time it's happened, so we're going to explain it. If a disconnect happens for any kind, like you realize there's some sort of problem, instead of trying to wait for it to finish, you have to immediately go like, okay, we've got a problem, please reset it. Because if any of your tanks spot any of the other tanks, or any of their tanks spot any of you, it is not allowed to be reset. No matter what the technical issue is, you're not allowed to reset at that point.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to call a reset. So you have to immediately admit it. Even if it was just like for a second and it came back, you're like, well, I've called for reset, we have to restart anyway. So we don't know what happened. I'm hoping it plug it out, plug it up.
Yeah.
Take it
I mean,
out,
the thing is, when we have so
English
much
today.
technology here that at the end of the day, something's bound to go wrong at some point, you know, whereas a major sports event, not so much. But there's so much technical equipment here, and the players, they absolutely have to be 100% confident in what they're using. And if it's feeling weird or funny, then they call it disconnect, because the last thing you want to do.
Get an update on your guys' opinion of this game. Who are you on, NSS or Wombats? I think we had a lot of Wombat fans in the audience, so I want to see if that's shifted. Are they seeing this and going like, actually I like NSS more? Maybe you just like the camo paint of one team more than the other team. Maybe that's a thing. So let us know in the chat which of these teams are your favourites, whether you think they're going to win or not. Which one do you like the most? Their playstyle, their camo? What about you? Which camo do you like the most?
Oh, between the two of them,
Yeah,
I think
just between the two of
NSS
them.
is really sleek. I really like NSS. My favorite at the tournament is HR, but NSS is a close second.
HR's pretty badass, right?
Yeah,
it's like the red and black is kind of
It's
like,
really
you
cool,
know.
really cool. I really love that they added the camos. It's something that I would have loved to have seen for a while. And when it was added, I was like, oh, that one's cool, that one's cool. It's like a fashion show. You're going through which one you like. And yeah, HR is really nice. But NSS, I really like NSS's. I think it's really sleek. That light blue with the white, it's really nice.
Well, looks like Wombats still, a few NSSs, but mostly Wombats. I'm not sure, like, there's so many cool camos, and I think there was one that was really, like, icy, so it was, like, mostly white with a bit of blue and maybe a tiny bit of black. Is that NSS's as well?
Well, I don't think they have
it was
black
one
in
someone
it.
before. It looked really
It might
cool.
have been Yato. Yato have similar colors to that, but although I don't remember
I'm not
ever
sure.
casting their games, so I'm not sure.
Maybe
I've
it was
seen
last season. It's not a team that's here now, but I remember
I like
there was.
Kasna's as well, actually.
Kasna's
So
pretty
Kasna's
badass.
got a really cool one. And
I-
Navi's is pretty cool too.
I don't like the yellow. It's the wrong tone of yellow for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you're gonna do? Are there any orange teams? I'd like to see orange camo.
Well,
Like orange. I'm talking.
not in World of Tanks esports, I don't think.
No. No, okay. Well, let's have a look at this game. We're having a repeat of battle number 4. We are on map number 2, on steps, NSS in the blue defending and going for a push, and Wombats on the offensive, going for the attack. No one seems to do the check for this anymore. It used to be that a lot of teams would go and do a check to spot it happening and then do the counter, but it's not.
There's a really aggressive spot you can do to pick it up. It's really risky, but this boost is so worth it if you can get up there completely unscathed.
Yeah, it's about 100 damage they lost.
You can actually blind fire the boost from the G line if you know exactly where to aim, but teams don't do that much because they don't really expect it anymore. And I think Wombats see that they have an artillery and think, they're not going to do a boost with an artillery piece, but they are. So
what would happen if you boosted the artillery piece up there?
it's not really useful. It would get lit. It's got no cover.
Yeah, I
it's
guess.
much more useful to have, say, a Russian medium up there because it's got the turret's
Turret
a low
armor.
profile, it's got high DPM, it's perfect for that kind of position.
Yeah, so anything that has non-autoloader but has good turret armor, something like that, will probably be most useful up there. So we're seeing some maneuvers here. Remember, Wombats are on the offensive, so they need to get some vision and they need to see what's going down. Koritz deliberately fires there. Just in case you don't know, when you fire, you increase the ability for the enemy to spot you. So what he did, he poked out, took a shot to see if he would get spotted. He did, so he knows that they are camping around A7. Now, that's actually a really cool way to find out this information. It's actually pretty safe. Leventa, did he get hit and tracked blind?
I'm not sure, but what you were talking about is very clever. You know, back in 754, there was a thing where we have light tanks, but we would specifically untrain their skills so they would have less spotting ability, so that when they would sit in a bush and an enemy team was trying to spot them, they wouldn't get lit by this tank. So they would basically have no idea that it was there, so until it was really close. So the spotting checks were all wrong because they think, oh, well, this tank, if there's a light tank, that should have great spotting.
Oh, that is meta. Wow.
So clever, so very clever.
I would never have thought about that, making your tank worse.
These tanks have all the crew skills on these accounts, so what they can do is untrain
Shadow in the distance there.
Yeah, Shadow, a lot of impetus on him to do a lot of damage here. He's really important, and he has to make that position worth it. Of course, sometimes you just see teams that put tanks up here and it just doesn't work out for them. Ideally, Shadow would like a push down into the 2-cap to get the most shots, but he should be okay here for now. Nothing's going to really spot him with Beowulf and Levanta right there. They're not going to be able to get close enough to see Shadow, so he can just fire at them.
But they know he's there, right? The breaknecks get shots from the high area.
Yeah, they'll see the damage coming out. There's not a great deal they can do about it. It's very difficult to blind fire that. So, you know, we'll have to see how that works out.
And only damage so far is against Breakneck, but Kusok gets whacked just as I say. He's actually tracked as well, but he's not going to use his repair kit. He's going to let it repair naturally, so he's going to save that for another time. Just Cause also gets hit. This is not going very well for Wombats, as they have taken 3 direct hits so far.
Yeah, you can see here that Wombats are doing the damage just now, and it's a lot of trading going off, but there's a lot of like little bit. There's not a ton of damage coming out. I like Kusok's position, but the 113 is a big tank, so he's got to hide that quite well.
Did he fall with a 24, or was that an HE?
It may have been Nuki trying to hit him. Kusok's very brave here with an artillery piece to try and take this position. 113 is quite a low tank, so you know it's not unreasonable to think that he can.
And the Lorraine has got a quite shallow arc, right? If it was an M40, this would be suicide position,
yes.
right?
The M4043 has bigger gun, bigger splash, and it is obviously a little bit better arc than this tank. Obviously, you want the most arc, you bring British, but you know we did actually see some interesting picks earlier for artillery, not the Lorraines and the M40 we used to see. We even saw
Conqueror, yeah. So which didn't do much.
Yeah, I have experience with that tank in pubs where it does do a lot, so, you know.
It's one of those things you forget about it until it does one of those connects.
Yes.
It can do 100 games, not hit a single thing. One game it connects, you're like, delete that tank.
When you're camping on the front lines and the Conqueror prevents you from doing that, it can just arc over anything. But anyway, in this case, obviously, teams often don't want to sacrifice those 10 tier points. No. Instead, they'll take the tier 8 artillery. Doesn't do as much damage, but generally they're still pretty useful.
Oh! Double tap, ding ding. Both of them bounce away. Good armor there for NSS.
Yeah. Beowulf showing exactly what that tank's turret can do when it's angled against the shots. Obviously, he doesn't want... If he gets shot in the side, it's not a good situation for him.
No, those tanks are totally frontal tanks.
It's got to be frontal. But again, you know, this is still kind of slow pace, and Koritz is just trying to cap, and I'm just waiting for Nuki to just absolutely nuke him.
Nuki's got to nuke him.
Yeah, exactly. And Breakneck will come around and neck everybody, but...
and Kusok's going to sock him.
Yeah. There's just so many memes coming out on the stream.
What's Coca-Cola going to do?
I don't know.
Lola?
I have no idea.
Hello.
He will lull them into a false sense. I don't know. I think we're pushing that a little bit too much there. But Levanta has to be careful.
30 seconds on the cap.
You know, Levanta's one of their key spotting tanks with a Batchat, so it's difficult because you don't really want to send Shotnik and Shadow to do it, and Levanta goes down. That is not what they wanted. But Koritz is off. Exactly. Yeah.
they got desperate. There was 25 seconds left. Karitz had to get lit up by something. They sent the Bat Chat highest chance to actually survive it. Remember, they are defending, so even losing the Bat Chat isn't the worst thing in the world. Look at the HP pool. It's roughly even. Shadow comes down, though.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, because they have 3 minutes left. There's obviously probably at some point going to be a push from Wombats. If they cannot get the cap, they have to attack.
Yeah.
So Shadow's just getting ready for that. He probably doesn't have enough shots. Breakneck.
Woo! We missed it.
So close.
The crowd comes up with it. Thank you, Nikojima. Coca-Cola will pop him. Of course he will. Oh, how do we miss that one?
Especially because he's got pop artillery, artillery, bat shot with that auto
He's going
loader.
to pop them. That's good. How do we miss that?
Yeah.
Povel's going to shovel him, dig him into the ground. Yeah, that's good enough. Karitz. I don't know what Karitz can do. Karitz.
But we've got an interesting situation here because Coca-Cola is actually ready to pop people down in the south here, but Evil Granny is there with assistance, so hopefully the 113 will get here for Coca-Cola so that he can actually have some support. But Popple is turning around, so I'm not sure what exactly they're trying to do, although they do now see that Breakneck has gone down. For Wombats, it's not looking that great for them. They only have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. However, they do have cap pressure, but it's whether NSS can get the reset.
Kusok is trading favorably with Beowulf, considering he has been there all game long. But Shadow's come down off his perch and is going to try and get Kusok, but they whacked his track. He instantly repaired it, so his repair kit is gone, and Shadow gets a nice shot onto Bishop. Yeah. His target, though, is to try and take out Kusok up here in the hills.
Yeah, but again, you can see there that Karitz has left the cap and is now flanking over the side. It looks like Wombats on tanks have given up their hopes of capping, which doesn't give them a lot of time to do anything. They have to figure out how to push. And I didn't pick it up before, but Wombats actually have an object 430. We don't see those very often.
No.
And the 430... The reason people don't usually pick it is because it doesn't have as good of a gun as the 62 and the 140, so it's not often picked. It
but
does
what's
have
its advantage?
Well, it has the highest DPM of any Russian medium. It's very quick firing.
The Lorraine Nuki takes out
that was
Kusok.
really big for Wombats there. They did not want that to happen. And Karitz is now over here just trying to shoot Shadow, but he has to be so careful because he's got Beowulf just about missing him there, and it looks like it's going to be really difficult for Wombats at this point. NSS just have too much control. The STB1's shutting down the Batchat. He has a TVP to back him up, so the Batchat can't even really go over and just attack the STB1 that well. He's going to try, but the TVP, if he's in position, this is great because Coca-Cola has a shield.
Coca-Cola, don't go for the bait, and he's not, but there's only 57 seconds on the clock, and this is going to all have to happen now.
That was a nice shot by Shotnik as well. The STB1 there obviously going to play on the hill much better than Coca-Cola. You can see there. And Shadow takes down Just causing the object 430.
And this is going to end badly for Coca-Cola. Shotnik comes out. He misses the shot, but Coca-Cola's on reload. And Shotnik must know this because Shotnik realizes Coca-Cola is not shooting. Oh, wait. No. He doesn't know, but Evil Granny's coming.
He doesn't know.
He
wants to be completely safe. He has no idea. Evil Granny, but here comes Shotnik. Shotnik will get it. There it is right there. STV1's not going to miss from that close range, although sometimes it will, I suppose.
With only 20 seconds left on the clock, it looks like Wombats are out of time and out of HP, in fact. It looks like NSS have won this in every way, shape or form, which means they did a double game 2. So Wombats won first map completely, and NSS won steps completely. That brings it back to a tie 2-all between NSS and Wombats. 4 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1. Victory there for the defenders.
Yeah, and Drynitz is actually in our chat at the moment, so shout out to him and Simp. But he says that he changed his settings, interesting, because we watched a lot of the first-person cameras, and they have like different settings on. And Drynitz says that he actually had the settings on quite low because his computer at home is quite low. So you don't want to play on higher graphics because it's going to be unfamiliar to you.
That's right, yeah.
So I think that's really important and really cool to see that Drynitz is in the chat
actually,
talking about that.
Yeah, welcome to the chat. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream even when you're not playing. And in fact, I've seen that some players play windowed because they're not used to the high resolution that they're playing on. They play on a laptop or something, and they play in windowed mode because they want to look at a smaller area.
Yeah, sometimes they have the resolution differently. Yeah, I mean, I have windowed, but it's maximized windowed, so it's
even when you're
almost
playing
full
Pro?
screen. Yeah,
wow.
I hate full screen.
Huh, that's
It's because I tab out and watch great animes like Cory in the House and things. No, I'm just kidding.
While you're playing on a pro, they say, I'm just going to watch la 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 la. Oh, you want me to do something? Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's why you didn't make it then, eh?
Yeah, that's it. It was tabbing out every time. No, but I prefer window mode personally. But one thing I saw earlier was Strike was playing with really high colors. In fact, it was really bright on his screen, and we saw it on Cliff, whereas a lot of the others had it dark, and so he could see it. So, but let's see what happens in this game with the stats.
Yeah.
And we have, again, the FV215B topping the damage
so
shots.
well. It was there the entire fight. That's the cool thing about Beowulf's FV215B. It was there the entire time, just putting constant pressure. If it wasn't keeping their heads down, it was landing those hits. Did really, really well, and kind of ruined Wombats' chance as they just couldn't get it done. The Object 430, as you said, the highest DPM, did okay, just scoring highest for their team, but this is the things that went wrong. Leventa, 0. He did get the important spot, but that's it. Breakneck, nothing. And Kuritz, also nothing, although that is a 215, the RU.
Yeah, Levanta there had to suicide his tank so that he could get the spots, because the last thing they wanted was Kuritz to be able to spot, cap with that RU251. So unfortunately, the Basha is the best suited tank for that role, and so he sacrificed his life.
But he did it.
It's a critical role, and you can't look at 0 damage and think, oh, well, he was useless, because he did do a critical thing, and sometimes you don't always see that in the stats because it's not quite represented. It's unfortunate we don't see defensive stats, because it would be cool to see what he got by assisted by defending there, but you can't really see that. So, but at the end of the day, you can see the FV250Bs again at the top, and that's because they just have the great DPM. You can see the turret armor being put to effect, but the 430, that was really interesting for me.
Yeah, well, the actual thing I wanted to go back to is on your stats. You changed the topic there. It was great, everything you were saying. It was just go, 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 go. But I wanted to bring it back to the stats. A lot of people, and I want to bring this back to the community, a lot of people would look at your stats and they would judge you for it. Like red players, tomato players, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you got low win rate and stuff like that. Well, actually, you don't realize that sometimes low win rate players are actually good players, but what they're doing, they're not helping the team. And they're very soloist. So what they end up having is that their team is losing, even though they're doing reasonably good damage and reasonably good technical skills. They're just not doing the right stuff at the right time. They're either hanging back too much or they're going forward too much. They're doing something that isn't helping the team win. So that's an indicator of your gameplay, not necessarily how good or how bad you are. But I have to introduce the map, as we're on Muravanka and World of Tanks. Wombats on tanks are the defenders here in the red, with NSS the aggressors in the blue. Now it's 2-all, so this map is all up for grabs.
Yeah, and Nuki is back again with that Lorraine artillery, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can be affected on Muravanka. Of course, Kusok was deadly in the M4043, which is interesting that they didn't pick an M4043. But the Lorraine is quicker and can relocate faster. Breakneck is taking far too much damage for that, and not what Wombats wanted.
No, E5s go through their strengths and weaknesses, right? These guys are complete bruisers, right? They go up, they stop, they do damage, and they receive damage. And by receiving damage, I don't mean necessarily losing HP, but their armor is pretty tough to beat, right?
Yeah, the E5 is got really great frontal armor. The last thing it needs is to be shot in the sides. But of course, its lower plate can be penned, but it's quite difficult. But everything else has been, pretty much an upgrade since the HD buff. You can see that the turret armor is really, really good now. The commander's hatch is very difficult to pen as well, because it's quite a big target. So it's quite difficult to pen, but of course if you come too far over, and these pro teams, they're going to know exactly what to do.
Of course they do.
So they will punish you far more for moves that you might be able to get away with, just to say a pub match.
And that actually is a thing that you've got to get used to. If you're playing in pub and you play like you would in a pro game, you wouldn't actually be as effective as some of the people who, I won't name names, are really good in pub games, but if they went to pro, they just lose badly because they're still playing like it's a pub, but it's a different scenario. There's certain skills that transfer really well, like knowing the maps, knowing where to fire, but the tempo of the game, where to be at what time, is completely different. And if you try to play the map like you do in a pub game, there's a good chance you're going to run into something you didn't expect.
Yeah. A general rule in a pub match is that you can't generally rely on your team. However, in an esport game, a team game, which is why if you guys want to check it out, you should definitely go into team battles, and that's the more coordinated thing if you want that. but obviously, you know, these teams work together. They're a unit. There's 7 players. They have to work together. It's very difficult to carry. Like, you know, CS:GO might be a little bit easier because one player can go boom, boom, boom. But in World of Tanks, it's much more difficult to do that. So it'll be interesting to see just how well that Wombats can recover from this. They have reset back to a position. You can see Breakneck's come down. He's a little bit more passive. Perhaps not going to make the same poke
We
he
Play
did last
TV
time.
and Logitech slapped on the front of that tank. That was no, you know, like a drink advert. You're watching a film and they pick up a can for no reason, wipe it across their forehead and gulp it down.
Yeah.
We just saw that happen right here as we know that NSS have got some sponsors, and there was a really nice camera angle of it. But you're right about the teammates. In fact, one thing I would like to point out is social engineering. When you are in a PUBG match, if you do want to encourage your teammates and not slam them, you will get a slight increase in their performance. They will start working together, or at least paying attention. As soon as you shut down a teammate by insulting them or isolating them or humiliating them, they will stop paying attention to the minimap, stop paying attention to the chat, and they will play completely solo. So there is ways to engineer your teams, but it's a lot harder than if you're playing in a game with your friends and you're actually trying to coordinate together. Although that can be really hard.
I remember a few years ago, there was a pretty good player on NA, and one of the things he used to do to try and get a high win rate was he had a macro or a copy paste that he would just put in every battle and be like, remember to focus fire and aim and all this stuff, like it was just to encourage his teammates. You know, whether it worked or not, who knows?
I'm a noob and I have 57% win rate, or just below these days.
Witchcraft is real.
Exactly. But I really do think it's because of social engineering. I always try and encourage the team. I always try to discourage any flaming and stuff like that. I'm not a great player. Look at my stats. It's not amazing. But it's a reasonably high win rate for somebody who plays solo. Why? I really feel it's because I'm trying to encourage the team. It's not random. I don't use gold rounds. Like, I'm not like gold spamming. I don't do any of that. Really, it's just, I really feel it's just I'm trying to lead the team. And also, the second most important thing you can learn if you want to win in random games, if there's a lemming train, lead the lemming train. Don't fight against it. Make sure that lemming train goes all the way, because the worst thing a lemming train can do is stop. They see one target, they all stop, and that one guy takes on 10 people because it's got a great frontal armor, no one can pen it. If you just rush it, yeah, one of you might die, but you'll kill it and you'll go on and you'll capture the base or kill all the artillery or something.
It's
like
very
that.
difficult to get that kind of cooperation in public matches.
You can do it. You can, I believe. And
Well,
my win rate speaks for itself.
well, yeah, I suppose there's that, or you platoon with good players as well.
I don't platoon, I told you. I really don't. I play solo. Because what happens is I'm very aggressive. I die really early, and then I'm bored for 5 minutes waiting for my teammates to finish because they're all better than me. So I don't platoon for that reason. I really don't. I'm mostly a solo player. Look at that camera switch, following one tank, switching to the next.
Yeah, that's quite a cool transition, actually.
That was a great. Let's focus on the game anyway.
Yeah.
What can you say about the formations? Wombats have already lost quite a bit of HP, but they
Yes.
are defending.
In this case, NSS have complete map control, and what Wombats have to figure out, which is all about their spotting, is whether they can push, and it looks like they're going straight up the 1-2 line, and Beowulf is now lit, Shotnik is now lit. They will both have to run because between the two of them, they cannot hold this off if Wombats continue to go. Bishop trading shots here with Beowulf. But Beowulf's going to have to get out of it. I don't think he knows it's coming. They're lit now, and Coca-Cola, unfortunately, does have a dead gunner by the looks of it, so it's going to be difficult for him. But this is... NSS now has to make something happen, but Shotnik is hitting him. This is very difficult because these hills are really, the terrain changes all the time in height, so it'll be quite interesting to see whether, you know, he's going to hit those shots.
It looks like Wombats are they're dead already. It looks like they're dead in the mortar. Everything they've tried to do so far has been shut down by NSS. They've totally shut them down. Every move they've done. And here we go into the main fight as Karita's getting chased by Destiny, doing quite a bit of damage to him actually, as Destiny's not actually being able to fit. It was a mess. The whole game was a mess by Wombats. No matter what they did, NSS had an answer for it.
Well, it showed the strength of map control. Is making these shots perfectly in the back shot. It's not easy. He did bounce that one. It's not easy to make these shots in an E5, and the fact that he's hitting these shots is really good. But again, you know, NSS are capping on whether they can reset. I just don't know, because the Lorraine, and they've got 3 tanks on there, including the artillery piece. These batches will have to come over, and they're going to run right into tanks. I don't think it's going to happen.
1.
The blind shots are coming out, and that's it.
NSS win victory against Wombats defense. It was a mess. The whole game was a mess by Wombats. No matter what they did, NSS had an answer for it.
Well, it showed the strength of map control. I'm surprised Wombats, they sat and they let NSS come in and have complete map control. When you do that, you don't know enough about where the enemy is. When you just sit in that corner, it's very difficult. You have to have the right tanks for it, and you have to make the perfect moves. Unfortunately for them, they didn't do it. And that
really
cap
didn't.
at the end there was so clever, very good. But I think they would have won without it.
It was the right
but
time. They would have won without it, but it was
drew
good
them
time.
into them as well,
Yeah.
it was just really clever by NSS. But
They locked down the bad chats as well. And they tried to move in the
surprised
open.
Wombats. I mean, I'm sure, obviously, you know, these guys are professional players. They had a plan. It just didn't come off, and obviously NSS in their case, it did come off. So, you know, really well played by NSS on that map. And they're now 3-2, so they've come from 2-0 down to
2-0 down is a really hard position to come from. The other thing was like Coca-Cola got screwed early on. He lost his gunner, didn't bring a med pack, and that's a reason to do that is taking, for example, 2 repair kits, for example, or you go for fire extinguisher repair kit and for rations, which increase everyone just a little bit. But as he came across, he was shut down as well.
Yeah, without
the stats
watching
got to
them,
be really revealing.
Yeah, without watching them exactly, it's difficult to actually know whether he had. I have to go back and watch it because I didn't notice at the time because we saw it on the side. But we'll see in the stats anyway just how well they actually did.
Now we have Beowulf at the top. Well, let's forget NSS. They did good all over. They really shut them down. Coca-Cola did 1,219 damage. Remember, Coca-Cola was the one who was shut down. He did the best. Just look at it. You can see for yourself.
Yeah, it's all low damage, and that's because of the cap. There's not a lot of damage when a team caps like that. There's still a lot of hit points. And, you know, it doesn't look good. Obviously, you see these low damage, but these guys are some of the best players in the world, no question. And, you know, when you look at that, you think, oh, well, that's kind of low. But obviously, you cap. And when you cap, I hate capping in pub matches because I'm like, I must get more damage. But, you know, in this game, they want to win. Winning whatever they can do. And if they can secure a win by capping, that's absolutely what they're going to do.
Why do you want more damage? I want you to answer that question.
What, in a pub?
Yeah, why do you want more damage?
More experience, more credits. I play tier 10s to make money. I have to do damage. If I don't do damage, tier 10s aren't profitable.
True, if you're looking,
and then there's the ego as well. You do more damage, you know, you win more games. If you don't do damage, you can't win games.
Well, unless you cap.
Yeah, but you don't cap that often.
Yeah, I don't really.
But here we have Kusok in the M4043, and he is so good at that. We've seen it already today, and you know, hopefully this battle perhaps won't be a cap, so that those of you that are actually following this with fantasy points will get something out of this game. Obviously, caps aren't always that great unless you get a lot of capping points from your guy.
But that is the M4043.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they brought earlier. So
Nuki, though, is also brought artillery, so this is RT versus RT, which is quite rare.
Perhaps there will be a counter battery. It might be quite difficult with only one on each side. Whether they'll look for traces, I'm not so sure. But it would be kind of amusing to see that. You know, we'll see. Yeah, personally, pub matches are just, I don't know, cap fast. That drives me nuts. Unless it's absolutely required. If you're winning a game,
there is, right?
and there's no way you're going to lose.
I'll give you this one example. While they're setting up, you see the formation, they're not making a move just yet. So while they're setting up, we'll explain one thing. If there's one tank left that's hiding, capping will actually raise your XP. If you're going for XP, and let's say you're not tier 10, you're looking just for XP, capping can actually get you more XP per hour, for example. If you look for the long game, you finish off hunting down for 3 minutes that one tank that's hiding in the hill somewhere when you've only got 2 tanks left yourself that are really slow. Capping is better then because you are going to not only earn more credits, you're going to earn more XP over the hour. If you keep doing that, chasing down that one tank for 3-4 minutes for that, let's say it's got 300 HP left, you're gonna not do it. So there's not always no cap. Sometimes there really is a time where it's beneficial, you'll get more XP, more credits, and you'll move on and not piss off your entire team.
Well, personally, I don't. I think that most of the time, unless it's absolutely necessary to cap to secure the win, it's not really that necessary. In fact, you remember best replays of the week where I tricked them into getting off the cap.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. That is why. See, this is exactly.
But they needed that to secure the win.
No,
it's not a game where
exactly. This is my point. Like, if they had stayed there and won the game by capping, but because people like you, have encouraged all the puppies out there that capping is bad, you can taunt them and make their teammates taunt them to get them off the cap. That's only a product of the environment that people like you have actually created.
Wow, the bully coming out here.
You're the bully. You bullied them in that game. It was a good strategy, though. It's a really good thing to do.
You can't bully farm. Anyway, so you can see here that NSS are spread really far out in the south, which is quite interesting, actually, to see. Wombats are on attack, so whether they'll use the one cap to put pressure on. Coca-Cola's lit at the moment, and you can see that basically they're just... It's a tale of two halves of the map here, with perhaps Wombats having a little bit more. But at the end of the day, you know, who do you give the positioning to? And I would probably say at the moment, I actually prefer Wombats.
Yeah, well, it's all about the positions right now, and there goes the first RT strike. In fact, it's the first blood of the match as Shotnik gets hit, and the first bit of damage goes out. So it's one of these maps where neither team is completely confident, not able to do things really quickly. It's one of the maps that's really technical, and you have to take it really slow and take your time, because if you don't do that, you're going to be surprised and or taken out. So many times we've seen teams rush into this map and they get annihilated really quickly. It's so easy to defend in that way, and attacking is possible, but they need to do it very slowly.
Just noticed Shotnik had lost a lot of hit points there to M4043, and that's just not good enough for Shotnik. He has to be careful. Obviously, you know, when you have a Kusok on the other team, it's something you have to keep in the back of your mind. But Wombats...
There's the big hit, really.
My word.
Just Cause was just hit by the artillery. He did have a med kit. He used it to heal his driver, but with only 513 HP left, he needs to be really careful from now on. Yeah,
that's a lot of damage, and that's exactly why you bring artillery. If you can have players that do that for you in artillery, it's worth it. And there's Dez avoiding it there. So it'd be quite interesting to me because, you know, I said I preferred Wombat's position, and that's because they have the spot in the forest. So if anything rotates through there, the Batshats can run away. They have some in the town that can support mutually while they can apply cap pressure here. But you can see here where the TVPs are in the bottom for NSS, and I think that's because they might fear Wombats rotating through. Obviously, they've still got 5 minutes, so they might rotate through. They haven't lit everything, or not for a while at least, and so they might have some kind of belief that, you know, perhaps they'll come through. And we saw what Batshats can do at that K position over there when, you know, I can't remember who it was in a 140. I think it was... may have been a Simp player, but I don't really remember. And he just got absolutely annihilated by that focus fire. So, but they are moving those TVPs up, and there is still cap pressure going on from Wombats, just cause it is quite low. So one artillery shot again should about finish him off, but he's on that hill.
I'm waiting for something to happen, but there goes the glancing hit. Was enough to do the reset. That was a really good play because they were set up to go in. NSS was set up to go in. There was 18 seconds left, but they waited for the artillery. They waited for the absolute last possibility, which is what the previous map, as you were saying, they don't want to sacrifice the tank if they don't have to. Again, NSS are really stepping up to this. Wombats looked really good in the first map, but NSS has taken everything since then. They're taking command really nicely.
Yeah, I still prefer Wombats' position in this particular battle purely because of the eyes that they have with the Batshats in the south. Obviously, the hope is there that the Wombats Batchat will spot that rotation. NSS want to try and do it sneakily. If they can catch the Batchat, that'll help too. But it'll be interesting to see whether they catch that Batchat and whether that triggers Wombats to leave the cap. I guess that'll depend on just how close they are. But they might not notice the rotation and see that NSS are a little bit short there on the 1-2 line. But 13 seconds left. Bishop is lit. Just Cause is not lit.
No,
and that's another miss by artillery.
Okay, so they have to move in now. Good. NSS have to go in. Shotnik has to do this reset, and he misses as well, which means 5 seconds left. That was a disaster. They expected the artillery to get the reset. Wombats might have actually missed. They've done it. They've done it. It looks like NSS completely misjudged it. They thought the artillery would get it, but it's not going to happen. There you go. NSS absolutely misjudged that situation, and Wombats takes the map. Oh, that was not needed.
Yeah, I did say that I did prefer Wombats in that position. I think NSS were a little bit too, I suppose, overconfident. You had that artillery piece, and perhaps they thought, okay, we've already hit Just Cause once, we can hit him again. But he was on that slope, and it's very difficult to arc, especially in the Lorraine artillery, to make that arc happen.
They had too many people in the southeast.
Yeah, they just sort of like, they had that position, and they just sort of didn't move. They just, I think they thought about pushing, and then they didn't. But obviously, you know, Wombats would have spotted that rotation. They had it all perfect. Yep. And I really liked what they did there. I was really impressed with Wombats. Now we're on 3-3. So we have a pretty good match going on here.
It was really surprising for me that the NSS let that happen. They were doing everything right in the sense that they were taking the HP away, they were whittling them down, but as you said, they were out of position. And they were overconfident on their Lorraine to constantly do the resets. And as soon as that reset happened, you saw them panic and they tried to come out, but it was too late. They wouldn't. I don't get what their commander was thinking. Like, what was their game plan? Like, just keep resetting with artillery? Like, they were that confident with their artillery? Because artillery is not usually that reliable, right?
Well, perhaps we'll have to see in the stats how well he did with that artillery. I mean, Kusok, I mean, and Nuki, both 1300, so it's like it's not amazing, but again, with the cap fast, press F to pay respect.
I wouldn't
to
say it
all
was
of your
cap
fantasy.
fast, it was just cap pressure.
Any cap is a cap fast.
any cap is too fast in your book. Anfield, 2016.
Almost any caps, yeah. But you can see here, Nuki fired a lot.
Hate is real.
And he just didn't reset. And I don't know, perhaps they didn't have the vision that they wanted in NSS. Perhaps there was internal arguing. This is a very close game. But obviously you can see the damage is low. But again, going back, there was so many hit points by the end of that battle because of the caps. So, yeah, I mean, it's not something that you can look at and be like, well, this tells us a whole lot. I mean, really, the artillery is the main thing we wanted to look at there, just how effective it actually was. And I think...
I don't know what NSS was thinking. I really blame their tactic there. They didn't have a follow-up, and their late game plan wasn't ever going to come into effect because they didn't have a backup resetter at all. They were relying on RT almost 100%.
I think NSS, their tactics were okay. I think they were just a bit slow. I mean, these guys...
What was their reset then? What was their backup reset? They knew the time was going like that. They had one chance to reset, which was the artillery, and nothing else is even close.
They had tanks on the 1-2 line, or 1 or 2 mediums on there that were there to reset, I think. But perhaps they expected to be a little bit more successful with the artillery. I'm not really sure. It's difficult to tell, but they didn't move the tanks, and perhaps there was a little argument going on in the team.
The strategy was wrong, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, the strategy had to have been wrong. You like the strategy, but...
I really liked Wombats, but what I'm saying is that perhaps NSS should have been a little bit quicker with their movement. Yeah, I mean, that's the issue with cap fast. If a team is capping, you have to move, and you have to know when to move and when you can come up and reset, and when it's too late. And in that case, it was too late. So,
well, we're now here on Cliff on the 4th map. It's Wombats on the offensive in the red, and in the defense, we have NSS in the blue. Now, Anfield doesn't want to see any more capping, but it's a really important part of the game. I didn't realize you hated capping so much.
It's not that I hate capping, it's that I only see it as a useful thing when it's absolutely necessary.
But here we're going to see is a massive engagement as the entire Wombats is going to go into a big ambush, but they need to get a lot of damage out here, and they didn't do much damage, actually.
It's really interesting because Wombats were playing Na'Vi, and Na'Vi did the same thing that NSS did, and they set tanks up on the 1-2 line ready to trap them, and there's a big trade going off here.
Yeah, Coca-Cola, Povel, and Breakneck need to go around here. They know there's so many of the tanks down there in the south for NSS. They need to engage and win this decisively right now. I don't know why they're being so coy. Bishop, Povel needs to go just round the corner and finish this up right now, because they're going to get surrounded. They're going to get wrecked as soon as the rest of NSS turn up. It doesn't seem like they're playing this right at all. They're a bit too coy, a bit too slow, but there's the rest of NSS on the run. It might be the sway right now, but I'm not sure.
It's so clever by NSS. Everything was so clever there. But whether it's going to be enough, whether they can capitalize, I really love the initial shots and the fact that they left that TVP there to deny the Wombats TVP. But I mean, I'm really surprised that Wombats are ahead in HP, because it really looked like NSS were doing much better than they actually were, I suppose. Just Cause is quite low here and will go down to Shotnik, but not before he does do 2 shots. And the RU will probably get away here and maybe pester Shotnik a bit, who's reloading. Depends, he might just be more worried about Dez and Shadow in front of him, not realize Shotnik is there. But at this point, it's very, very close. Wombats have about 1,000 more hit points, but they do have 4 tanks, and obviously keeping guns in the game is very, very important. So, in fairness, one of those guns is an RU, but it cannot be underestimated just how quick that thing can fire.
But Kuso's got a great position here. If he can actually get all of these shots off, he might be able to kill Shotnik and Shadow. And he does get Shadow, and he's 1 shell left. He might want to reload, or actually probably not bothering to reload at this point. Coca-Cola's come around the back with a full clip, and if Kuso just comes down, he has decided to reload. He'll probably come down to use his HP as a distraction anyway. And oh no, Bishop doesn't matter. Yeah. He's on full HP.
And Coca-Cola doesn't even have to risk himself. He could, and he sees that Dez is there and distracted, so he's going to come around and take some shots now on Dez, and that's game over.
Absolutely game over. NSS did a really interesting thing, but I think that the opening barrage didn't do enough. There was not enough connections there. The entire Wombats went past, and I think 3 shells from NSS connected. And you said that you loved their strategy, but that's where their failure happened. Yeah. If they did a few more connections there, like, I don't know, 6 instead of 3 or 4, well, it might have been enough to sway the battle up the top.
I mean, Na'Vi did the exact same thing to Wombats, and it was so effective, and it's really good because, you know, Wombats have had that happen to them twice, but this time around, perhaps the damage wasn't there. It's difficult. We may have to go back and see, but anyway, you know, when you sit in that position, the whole goal there is the TVP to get all 4 shots out, do as much damage as possible. And they had the flank on and everything, and it looked really good for NSS for quite a while there, but it just credit to how good some of these Wombats players are that they managed to bring that one back into their favor.
Maybe it's that. We'll see in the stats in a minute, because I've got a feeling that the NSS were shooting and missing, because they did that opening lineup. I see it now. They came in, all the Wombats were there, and it was lots of shots coming in, but very little damage from off Wombats. And when they went up the top, they had all their team there. They outnumbered NSS. As you said, they left one TVP from Wombats to do the damage, and they had 3 NSS down there. So they outnumbered, Wombats outnumbered NSS in the north. So let's have a look at the stats and see exactly what happened. But I really feel that's the opening thing that caused the problem, because Kusok there did 3,000 with 9 shots. Shotnik did 2,500 with 10 shots. Coca-Cola 2,300 with 8 shots in a bad chat, not so good. Just Cause okay. Evil Granny, Desnix and Shadows. Again, look at the damage here from the TVP. 10 shots, that little? There was no blind firing in that game. Every shot was a direct shot, and that was too many misses. That's a whole clip of miss.
Well, in fairness, the bat shots aren't super accurate. So when you're
that was a TVP.
Well, I'm just saying these bat shots. Obviously, you pointed out that the bat shot did only 2K in, like, was it 8 shots? I can't remember.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Obviously, look, the bat shot's not got a great gun, and sometimes it's very difficult when you're in heat of the moment as well, and the pressure is on,
sure,
and you're on a live stage. Trying to hit those shots is not always easy. The TVP much more accurate, and so you expect them to hit more shots.
So maybe he is on who was the weakness then, because he missed so many shots for a game that's so skirmishy, and most of them in very lightly armored tanks, TVPs and bat chats. Every shot should be penetrating.
Yeah.
1 or 2 should be misses.
You expect the TVP to land all of its shots at, pretty much most of the time. The bat shot's a little bit less reliable in that regard, but you can see both teams have 2 TVPs and basically the exact same lineup.
It is a mirror matchup for the first time in ages. So this is battle number 8. We have Wombats on the defensive on match point. If these guys in the red win this battle, they win. NSS on the attack in the blue. We're going to have a very small engagement as Nuki spots Correct. He gets a single hit.
Just Cause so good.
Oh, that was lucky for Nuki, but at the same time, a good shot for
Well, you have to give both credit there. Just Cause managed to hit his track, but also Nuki was on the instant repair.
Absolutely.
And if he had,
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
it was a bang.
Absolutely instant repair. So those reaction times is so good. The reflexes to do that. But unfortunately, Nuki does go down.
He gets popped by Cola-Cola.
But again, with an RU on so low hit points, it's quite difficult. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Dez is lit, and he may try to relocate back, but he's going to have to be careful because he doesn't want to get shot up here by the RU or anything else that might go over here. If the Batshot climbs up there, I don't think the Batshot, is he going to be able to? Yeah, he should be fine. He has to be careful, obviously, in that position, but because he's got a bush there, he can spot them. The NSS guys over there.
So whose position here do you give the favour to? Wombats, who's on the defensive, or NSS's position where they've taken the hill mostly and are flanking round there around D9? Which position here do you give a slight advantage to?
If I had to choose between the 2 positions that I would be in, I would have to go for NSS purely because they have the hill, which is a lot of spotting range. There's not a great deal of difference between the 2 of them, to be honest with you. It would be difficult to be like, oh, this one's definitely better. And when you have these teams, both teams have got such good players and shot callers and things like that, they can make something out of absolutely nothing. So when the battle's this, even Evil Granny is absolutely being torn apart here.
And Coca-Cola also taking the damage. It happened on the other side of the battle. We didn't actually get to see it, but Coca-Cola might get taken out and shut down off this hill, which is the last thing that Wombats want, because that will give NSS the entire map, right?
Yeah, the issue here is that they had the hill there, and they were able to move NSS straight around without them being lit because of that hill control. So perhaps Coca-Cola had no idea that they were coming from there, and of course you have these tanks in your back, and then suddenly you're being shot at by these high DPM tanks.
Absolutely. We have Povil here and Bishop trying to snipe here against Desnis, but remember, these guys are auto-loaded with a very slow time. Some of them are connecting though, and Desnis is taking a lot of hits against him, and they might actually get taken out, but Breakneck is in worse condition, and Desnis seems to have been into a safe position. Just Cause takes out Levanta, which gives the gun advantage definitely in the Wombats' favor. The HP is very similar, but look at those guns.
Yeah, they have more guns, 7 against the 5. And Dez, so close, Bishop. Oh, and he does get taken down by Kusok. And again, Wombats increase their gun favor here.
Remember, this
and
is
again,
match point, though. If Wombats win this, they're actually going to take the 3rd place, as Shadows went from full HP to nothing, doing no damage at all. Shotix on 2 shots. Beowulf is the only guy with any sort of HP left, but look how many guns are left on Wombats on tanks. That's the important thing. It may only be double the HP, but it seems like it might be the end of NSS here, as Beowulf runs away with no ammo, just under half HP. It's game over. Beowulf is going to go pop Anfield. There you go. It is 5-3 to Wombats.